We all have to grow up at some point, don't we? I love Pokemon. It's been accompanying me since my very early childhood, as far back as Gen 2, with a little bit of Gen 1 in the mix. And yet, despite this channel's very early life revolving around streams of Nuzlockes of my favorite games, I've yet to talk about this series again in, well, any real capacity, really. Well, I was working on a script detailing my journey through my very first ROM hack hardcore Nuzlocke in Renegade Platinum, but that's been in the oven for over 2 years now, and I'm not even at the third badge yet. No matter, we're here to discuss something else entirely. Whether you're a fan of the classic generations, someone like me who grew up with Gens 3, 4, and 5, or hell, maybe someone who got into the series in the later gens, we can all agree on something. The music fucking slaps! That being said, I had an idea for a video series regarding the soundtrack of the mainline Pokemon series, where I list off my favorite tracks from each set of games. But then I thought, why not expand the concept to other game series I've played? And so, Video Game Music Goes Hard, the series, was born. Of course, I don't intend to just talk about music non-stop. Otherwise, each episode of this series would be, at the very least, an hour in length. For that purpose, when talking about Pokemon specifically, I'm limiting myself to 5 theme categories per set of games: towns, routes, dungeons, trainer battles, and legendary Pokemon battles. And trust me, even in the early gens, there's a lot to talk about. Speaking of the earlier generations, we're kicking things off with the very first on the Game Boy. Like I said, I did grow up somewhat with these games, even if I was very little at the time. It wasn't until I was a teenager that I managed to beat Pokemon Yellow. That being said, I now have an opportunity to talk about some 8-bit goodness. Let's give it a whirl, everyone. Obvious red points in any Pokemon map. Ladies and gentlemen, the major landmarks like cities and towns are the living heartbeat of each region when it comes to the world map. And if you're required to ask why, well, let's just say literally every generation has at least one massively iconic piece of music for a landmark. When it comes to Gen 1, well, I don't even need to talk, right? Most of the city themes are synonymous with Pokemon itself nowadays. However, amidst all of those, 3 of them stand out for me. And what better way to start than with the literal beginning? Come on, lads, it doesn't get much more nostalgic than this. A theme that spans almost the last... let me check my calendar here. 30 fucking years! Talk about real bruh hours. Japanese Pokémon Red and Green versions are 3 years older than me. And even then, this theme means a lot to me. Pallet Town is pretty much a second home to all Pokemon players, new and old. Even people who started with the last gen probably know where the adventure truly began in 1996. And this theme perfectly captures that. I think now's a good time to say that I'm completely musically illiterate. You aren't gonna hear me talk about time signatures, instruments used, or the inspiration for each theme. What I will say is why these are my favorite tunes in each generation with rather vague statements. Mostly turning to my emotions to speak for me, honestly. And let me tell you, Pallet Town's theme speaks to you. It speaks to you, to me, and to everyone. It is a place of beginnings and endings, a place of safety, a place you know you can trust. And this theme conveys all of that beautifully. It is a 31-second loop that I honestly wouldn't mind listening to forever, because I know that, in its embrace, I'm safe. The starting town theme that set the precedence for all others to come. Pallet Town. On the opposite side of the spectrum, though... Yep, we all knew this to be here. Generation 1's Lavender Town is infamous, and that's putting it mildly. Personally though, I've always loved this theme. Whether out of legitimate enjoyment from hearing it, or just a sick, morbid curiosity regarding the Lavender Town syndrome when I was a kid, I have no goddamn clue. But it's the second of the 3 themes we're discussing in the Landmarks segment. Remember when I was talking about being musically illiterate? Well, sometimes the ear just catches things. Honestly speaking, this theme is more akin to a classical piece than anything else, which, given the Game Boy sound chip, is impressive to say the least. The sense of dread and depression permeating the town is conveyed amazingly in this track. It is still, to this day, considered to be one of the scariest places in all of Pokémon, and in large part, that's due to the music. Now, do you believe in ghosts? If you do, welcome home, trainers. If not, well, that's fine too. Lavender Town welcomes all, after all. You should probably do something regarding that white hand on your right shoulder, though. And finally, to complete the Landmarks trifecta, we have the Red Pearl of Kanto Seas, Cinnabar Island. By far the most unique town/city theme in the game. Maybe besides Lavender Town. Can you guess why those two were mentioned? In any case, this is a weird one. It's, for starters, one of the shortest loops in the game, clocking it at a resounding 21 seconds. And yet, it's also probably the most upbeat tune in the game. It's pretty nice finally arriving there. Other than the mansion, gym, and occasional visit to the lab to revive a fossil, there's not really much reason to go there unless you plan on doing some glitches. But every time you step foot upon the small island, you are greeted with a freaking banger beat and just overall positivity. It's a place that you like to stay at for, I don't know, partying and shit. Think of it as the Ibiza of the Kanto region. I think that's a more apt comparison. I sure hope it stays like that forever. The routes. Truly the linchpin of the entire Pokemon world. Whatever region you visit, you can be damn sure you'll be pestered by that region's regional bird and rodent, while you are simply on a leisurely walk through the countryside with your level 100 starter/legendary depending on how you play. However, in between those times where you aren't either committing genocide on a bunch of species or mashing A to escape the hordes of annoying mons that can't stand up to your late game might, we have some beautiful tunes, believe it or not. Generation 1 isn't really known for beautiful melodies or complex compositions, but holy shit does it have some of the most recognizable tunes when it comes to routes. From all of those, once again, I'll highlight 3 of the most impactful route themes in Generation 1 for me. Case in point, we can't not start with... unified in one simple theme. It's magical, really. Routes 1 and 2, minus Viridian Forest obviously, are the culmination of everything an RPG early game should have. A sense of security for the newbies, and a sense of excitement for the adventure ahead. Just like Pallet Town, this theme speaks to us, but in a completely different tone than the last one. The first ever route in Pokemon history is a mark for all of us. Its significance cannot be overstated. And no, before you ask, I'm not a Gen 1er. My favorite Pokemon game is, and probably always will be, Platinum. But I always give credit where said credit was due. It is beautiful. Once again, yes, it is a short as fuck loop, but come on! How can you resist the call to the outside? The call to gear up, run into some tall grass, and tame some magical creatures to become your lifelong companions. If this isn't what Route 1's theme entails to you, then I don't know what to tell you. It shows a clear mastery of the Game Boy sound chip and the willingness to take bold risks from Game Freak and Junichi Masuda. Fantastic overall. The beginning of a journey is an important step, yes, arguably the most important. But the finale is equally as important in my books. Folks, welcome to Route 23. Dude, do I even need to explain why this is being talked about? The culmination of an entire journey. You've collected 8 badges, defeated Team Rocket, shut down your rival several times, and now you're within moments of giving a shot at becoming the first ever Pokemon League champion. Anything less than this is an automatic no-no. And Masuda, once again, knocked it out of the fucking park. The moment you step out of the first gate between routes 24 and 23, it's special. And boy, does it move you. Each badge that gets verified as you move north to the cave that is Victory Road, each confirmation of your mastery of the game, it clicks with the player. As someone who's Nuzlocke yellow before, let me tell you, it might not be the hardest game to do that on, but Route 23 makes you feel vindicated. It makes it feel like it was worth it. I've got really nothing to add, honestly. There isn't much more I can do to elevate this theme to the level it deserves. In 1996, this was a masterpiece. And even today, it's still really fucking good. Guys, I can't tell you just how difficult it was to pick the final route theme to talk about. Kanto is full of fantastic music. Routes are, as we've seen, no exception. But aside from the beginning and end, square in the middle sounds nice, right? Route 23 is my personal favorite in this game, I can't deny that Route 11's theme is near perfect. At this point in the journey, you are approaching the mid-game, if you're not realistically already in it. And while we've had plenty of battles and training to get us to the next levels, the game doesn't need to be super serious all the time. This theme really calls out for you to feel happy and warm inside, and it does so effortlessly. Get excited! You have 3, maybe 4 badges by the time the game throws this theme at you, and it wants you to feel good because of that. There really isn't much else to say about it. Music often speaks for itself, which is what this track does. I know I've said similar things before, but it's because it's really like that. Don't worry though, As we get through the generations, there will be more to say for sure. Dungeons! Whether it be a small cave off the side of Vermilion City connecting the entirety of Kanto, or an actual criminal underground, I classify a location as a dungeon if it is a mandatory closed space to complete that has battles to be fought or story bits to follow. Oh, and it's not a route, obviously. Fortunately, there is plenty of quality to be found throughout this region. And, once again, I'm compelled to start things off with a very iconic tune. Generic cave theme? Nah, fam. This was, is, and always will be Mount Moon's original theme first and foremost. The anthem for I swear to fuck, if another Zubat shows up, I'm committing atrocities even the Junkler will find too far. As a music track, it's the most basic tune we've discussed thus far in this video for sure. But it's basic and simple for a reason. Besides the fact that the full loop is over 1 minute and 20 seconds long, the simplicity of the track really conveys the horror that these caves bring to normal people within the Pokemon world. For me, personally, this is the type of shit you'd hear at a never-ending maze of sorts. Which is how this place feels like for new players most of the time. As if the mountain itself was telling you that, yes, you will perish horribly here at the hands of infinite Zubat hordes coming to suck your blood. Like I said before, this theme was reused to all hell within this game. Even I don't know the precise locations where it's used, although I suspect Seafoam Islands, at least. If you guys know, let me know as well, please. The one thing's for sure, this theme suits Mount Moon and the first ever Pokemon cave perfectly. Man, Gen 1 loved its casual horror, didn't it? Yet another extremely common Lavender Town W. Pokemon Tower is, above all, a symbol for a lot of folks who play this generation. A symbol of late nights playing the Game Boy, trying to get further and further, and stumbling upon this accursed place. Welcome, one and all, to the official house of the single Ghost-type line in all of Generation 1. Gotta say, it fits the atmosphere alright. Other than the fact that, holy shit, why is Lavender Town the one who gets the attention when its graveyard is far scarier? Like, Jesus fucking Christ, what else do you want me to say? This is one of those instances where the music does all the talking yet again. Foreboding, intimidating, imposing, whatever adjective you find to characterize this theme will sell it short. It's subliminal in its very core, and that fact makes it stand out even above Lavender Town's. Not to mention, oh, I don't know, this might be minor, but the fucking mediums in the tower that demand sacrifices in body and blood? How is this in a kid's game? The 90s were wild, I'm telling you. This isn't a place you want to hang out in for long. And the music is a big part of that. Grab your ghost type, save Mr. Fuji, and never step foot in it again. You thought you were safe from the bad guys? Ha! Never. 1 minute and 4 seconds of high alert music injected straight into my earholes for each loop of this phenomenal track. I totally understand the Rocket Grunt hiring folks at Nugget Bridge, because if that's what plays at their HQ 24/7, I might actually sign up. Wait, scratch that! Not my smartest move, ladies and gentlemen. But can you blame me? From the moment you step inside Rocket Hideout, you know you probably wondered where you are really not supposed to be. A criminal-filled place where the only consistent thing is inconsistency itself. A chaos-ridden place where you better pay attention to where you step, because if you don't, you'll end up spinning for about 2 minutes straight, only to be back right where you started. This theme captures all of that masterfully, with a sense of urgency unlike anything you've heard in the entire game up until that point. Unless you also entered Pokemon Tower early, which is likely. Still, as the main villain's hideout, this theme absolutely nails the atmosphere of sneaking into it and taking it out from the inside. And given how the real battle against Team Rocket is at Silph, I'd say this would have worked far better for that theme. That being said, it's also fine that it was used at the team's hideout. Overall, intimidating and imposing, this theme is just fantastic. Category for Generation 1. Why is that, you ask? Because this fucking set of games didn't even bother separating legendary mons from the normal ones. They all have the exact same battle theme. A boring one! Yes, I know, it's also iconic, so it gets a pass. So that leaves us with trainer battles. Besides the basic trainer theme, there's only 2 to talk about. Which feels like it's not a lot, but there's plenty to say about both. And once again, there's no finer way to start. Let's get ourselves some badges. A theme synonymous with intense boss battles and the catalyst for some of the greatest tracks within the entire Pokemon series. The Gen 1 Gym Leader theme was light years ahead of its time. The Game Boy was barely able to process what Junichi Masuda wanted it to do, but it still did it somehow. It's a masterpiece, plain and simple. There's no other word to describe the genius of this battle theme. It gets you pumped up to face the best trainers of the region, while also making damn sure you never feel overconfident in your abilities, bringing you down to reality with the seriousness of its tone. And when you think it's thrown everything it has at you, the third loop incorporates Pokemon cries and attack sounds into it. Like, bruh, really? I was already hyped as hell, you didn't need to go the extra mile, good sir. Now let me fight this swimmer girl in peace without shitting my pants at the sight of her Starmie, please. Will I take the piss? Hell no. Gen 1 still has one of the best sets of gym leaders in the series, and it's in great part because of the music. To this day, I don't know a single Pokemon fan that can't say the names of at least 6 of them. Just, wow. I wonder how they topped this. That was a joke, by the way. We all know how they topped it. This is it. Peak the culmination of the entire adventure. And it's the theme that accompanies the final battle against the rival who spat on you and ran on ahead every single time you two met. Like I said, peak. Words truly fail me, guys. This theme is just perfection incarnate for this particular battle. Why? Because it's fucking personal. This spiky-haired shit downplayed your importance at every single step of the way. He looked down on you like you were less than the dirt beneath his shoes. And now? Now you get to cave his ego in for good. The intensity on display from the music sells this moment without needing anything else. And the fact that this is set up even before the first 8-bit note reaches your ears is spectacular. Yes, the Elite Four is finished. I can finally call myself the champion. Wait, what the fuck? Each Pokemon either you or your rival send out as this godlike track plays just amplifies the epicness as you quickly approach the end of the journey. The icing on the cake, even if not accompanied by this theme, the scolding Professor Oak gives his grandson is vindication incarnate. What a way to close out the first ever story Pokemon told. And this theme also sets a precedent for absolute bangers in all, yes, no exceptions, future champion themes. Once again, I can only say, bravo. And with that, we hit pause on the recorder. Generation 1 certainly has been surpassed by later gens, but we can all agree that its music somehow still holds up today, even if it's just 8-bit. Little did Game Freak know at the time, but they had just started feeding a small monster that would eventually grow to a gargantuan size. This is only the beginning, folks. Join me in the next video of this series as we tackle Pokemon's second generation, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I believe that's all for now. Stay safe, and until next time, peace!